Hello readers, I'm Amy and today I'm going to review Just Like Mother, which I listened to as an audiobook. And this is going to be a very, very spoilery review. This review will spoil the book because as a person who does not want to be a mother, I have a lot to say about this book, particularly about the way that it ended. And yeah, so if you're not going to read this, or if you're like me and you just don't care about spoilers, go ahead and watch this video. But if you want to read it and you don't want to know how it ends, then yeah, maybe skip this one. I just feel like we need to talk about that ending. So Just Like Mother is a cult book. I would love to read more books on cults, so if you have some recommendations, please list them down below. But it seemed to me, in looking at the characters' backgrounds with the cult, that all of the adult women were considered mothers, or maybe all the adult women in the household were a mother. That setup isn't necessarily explained a lot. You just have some of the kind of insinuations, and I liked that, where you get the basic idea of how this cult works, but you don't have all the answers, and that kind of keeps you going. But you have a bunch of girls living with a bunch of older women who are the mothers. Mother says this, mother says that, and we're not told which mother. We're just like, this mother and that mother and the other mother, like, say this stuff. And you have our two main characters. Andrea is 12 when the cult is found out and disbanded, and you have whatever our main character's name is. Those of us who read almost 100 books a year, like, we're not going to keep track of character names, but our main character was, I think, 8 years old at the time the cult was supposedly disbanded. And the younger one keeps looking for the older one in her life out there in the world. She wants to reconnect, and eventually through a DNA site they do end up reconnecting. And as you're going through, I'm not usually very good at predicting where a book is going to go. This book for me was very predictable. Like, I knew that Andrea was going to be awful. I knew she was going to still be involved in the cult at some point. I'm like, you shouldn't go into here. You shouldn't be having that conversation. You need to be wary. You need to be careful. And while it was a very predictable book for me, that didn't take away from my enjoyment of it. Like, I knew what was going to happen, but also I still felt really tense and I still felt really connected to the character. I think a lot, I don't know about other readers, but I think a lot of my appreciation for our main character and my connection to our main character and my investment in her life is that the main character is child-free by choice. I am also child-free by choice, where the main character is like, I don't want to have kids. I have my own personal reasons. I go a little bit into that in one of my discussion videos that I can link up above, wherever it ends up going. I always lose track. And our main character doesn't want kids because of stuff that happened in the cult. So boys, I didn't totally understand their role in the cult, but they're kind of used as like servants or kind of like cattle when it comes to making babies, having kids. When you have babies, you want them to be girls. But you'll note that the cover for Just Like Mother has a doll head on it. And I recently posted a review for How to Sell a Haunted House, which also has dolls and puppets. I'm not sure just yet how I feel about dolls in books and movies. I'm kind of exploring that genre a little bit more. But in this, the sister, the one who is older, cousin, sorry, they're cousins. The older cousin has this company called New Life, and she makes AI babies, and they're meant to help women who are coping with grief for a lost child, or help women who are trying to learn about being a good parent before they end up having their own babies. And these dolls are really creepy, and yeah. But what gets me with this book, as much as I enjoyed the child-free character and some of the discussion around being child-free between the characters is of course really infuriating, because you have our main character who's like, I don't want kids, and then you have the other characters who are like, having kids is a woman's only purpose in life. But what got me is that you get to the end of this book, and again, spoilers, but at the end of this book, some of the characters are like talking or finding out kind of what's up with the cult at this point, but you learn that the main character, who's in this consensual relationship and everything, she's married, she is pregnant by choice. And that, for me, really kind of stepped on the point. As I said, I mean, I enjoyed this book a lot. It was still tense for me the whole way through, even though I saw a lot of the plot before it was even happening. But when you get to the end and she is pregnant by choice, I'm just like, really? So if you're not child-free, or if you're not familiar with the discussion around child-free people, such as myself, we get a lot of comments of, oh, you'll change your mind. Everyone thinks, or seems to think, that people who don't want children will change their minds and want children someday. And I'm not saying that that doesn't happen. I'm not going to say that you can't change your mind, that you won't change your mind. Some people do change their minds about having kids, and that is a valid experience. But when it comes to media, like books and movies that really reach a large audience, I feel like that's not necessarily the route you should go, because it just kind of solidifies this idea for a lot of people that, oh, you'll change your mind about having kids. And I remember Emily Fox from Books with Emily Fox talking about how a lot of times child-free characters in books are villainized. Like, you have the mother, and then you have the crone, and then you have the maiden. Well, the crone is an old lady who no one likes, you have the maiden who's a virgin, and then you have the mother. Like, those are your options. And yeah, the crone, the one without kids, the spinster, like, their lives are lesser. Their lives aren't as interesting. Their lives don't have meaning. And this book, I feel like, especially with everything that happens in the book, I really wish they'd just not had her be pregnant by choice at the end of the book. There is another big thing that happens at the end of the book that would have ended the book in a perfectly satisfactory way. I would have been happy with it. And then the pregnancy by choice was like an additional ending point, and it just didn't feel necessary. Like, why do we need that? So I still gave this book 4.5 stars. I mean, just based on enjoyment, I really, really enjoyed this book. Definitely taking off a half star for the ending, but what can I say? Just because I'm disappointed in a book doesn't mean that I didn't enjoy myself. Also, really quick, I'll put this at the end since these trigger warnings are very spoilery, but just so you know, if you're still interested in picking this book up, I want to say big trigger warnings. Mainly, we have sexual assault, which isn't super descriptive, but it's there, and forced pregnancy, and to an extent forced birth. It kind of has to do on how far along the pregnancy is, but those themes are in there, so just tread carefully. That is going to be it for this review. Please comment down below and let me know what you think of this discussion, what you think of the ending for this book. If you're fine with that ending, if you're not, like, just let me know. So please like, subscribe, be my friend on social media. I will catch all of you in my next video. Bye, friends.